Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and get started. I know there are some people who just couldn't join us today, so we are recording this. I will post it just like I did last time, so if anyone couldn't come or if you have to jump off early, you can always watch it later. But welcome, Ohio CTE PR communicators, recruiters. This is probably our craziest, busiest time of year, so I wanted to keep this agenda kind of loose and maybe short so we can get everybody back to work today. I'm Alicia Mowry. I'm the person that keeps sending you all those emails and reminders and links to social media posts. So hopefully those are helpful to many of you. This month's theme is just kind of talking, even though we're in the midst of open house planning and recruitment, we're also looking ahead to once we get all those applications and we send those acceptance letters, how do we keep people engaged? So we just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about what all of you are doing to keep people from changing their mind between January, February, and August. But I wanted to just start with a quick wellness check-in. I know we're all coming from different areas. I've heard from a lot of you that you're new to either CTE or you're new to PR or you're new to both. I've been here at DACC for 11 years, and I know this has been a rough year for our department, so I can't imagine jumping in with both feet and being new. There's others who are doing brand new things for the first time. There's others who are parents and finding out that your kids are learning remotely now, or if you're like me, within 72 hours finding out that your oldest is learning remotely and your youngest is now quarantined. So how is everybody doing? Anybody need a quick check-in? What's your status? Feel free to jump in. Everybody's good? Everybody's rocking and rolling? Is anybody else like me working from home, educating, parenting, working? Yes, no, maybe?
I'll jump in here. Yes, I've got the same thing going on here, Alicia. We've got I've had one quarantine. Kids are both working from home now, and I'll be working from home starting next week. So this gets really fun really quick.
It does. Yeah, your brain can do a lot of things all at once. How about some of our new people? I know I've heard from a handful of you that you are absolutely brand new. Who wants to be brave and speak up and just introduce yourself as like a brand new person to CTE? So when we hear from you and we know who you are. Yeah.
I'm new. I started at Great Oaks Career Campuses in February. So I was here for just around a month or so before we started working from home and had to go to remote learning.
Oh, great. So you're over there with John, right?
Yep, John White.
You've got a great mentor with you.
I know. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Yes. I'll jump in real quick. Audrey Gutman. I'm at Upper Valley Career Center in Piqua. I've been here. This is my third school year, but I've been kind of quiet with everybody here. We haven't really made our presence known. I haven't made my presence known. I took over for Kathy Voris. So just want to say hi to everyone. Thanks for all the emails and things like that.
Great. Well, welcome. This is a good group. And one of my favorite things about this group is everyone's so helpful. We're not competing against each other. Geographically, we can't compete against each other, even if we wanted to. So there's no reason not to help each other and share resources. All right. So I was trying to think of some resources to send to everyone, things that I find really helpful. And I'll just mention a couple of them here before we hand it over to Melissa for a few minutes. One of them is the Ohio School Public Relations Association. There's a number of us in this meeting that are on that association in addition to being part of ACTE. If you're someone who has to deal with COVID right now, I know Erica was just telling us that that's something that didn't fall to her plate. But if you're dealing with some of the same things that our K-12 schools are dealing with, if that's a set of resources that would be helpful to you, I encourage you to look into the Ohio School Public Relations Association. My disclaimer is I'm president-elect of that association, so I'm not going to twist anybody's arms. It's not a sales pitch, but they do a lot of good webinars. We're going to do one in January. We'll do a lunch and learn about how to create some real simple videos, like video interviews, how to edit those. We've done some great interviews with other professionals. We interviewed the PR person or the communications director for Lieutenant Governor Houston a couple months ago, and it was really interesting to hear from him. So just add that to your list. there is another group there's a Facebook page. It's called the School Communicators Facebook group, and I'll try to send that link out in another email. But that's just a Facebook group to be part of. All you have to do is prove that you're a school communicator, and that's where people post every day, constantly questions. They're sharing resources. It's one of those where you try to give as much as you take. So if you have answers to people's questions or things that you can share, it's a real good community to be part of. But those people are dealing with a lot of the same situations and issues that we are. So just a couple of little resources that's where I get a lot of my inspiration and my ideas is from those two groups. So I'm going to hand it over to Melissa here. She mentioned, she maybe made the mistake of sharing with me that she has this great kind of 3D, I'm going to describe it all wrong, but like a 3D pop-up, a mailer that she uses for retention after students are accepted. And I just thought that was really interesting. That's not something I had ever really thought of. So selfishly, I wanted to learn more. So I asked her to spend a couple of minutes talking to all of us today. And Melissa, do you need me to share controls with you, or are you just going to show us?
No, I'll just show you this way.
Okay.
Yep, no worries. Hello, everyone. I am the Director of Communications, Marketing, and Student Retention, or Student Recruitment here at the Warren County Career Center. I've been here about 2.5 years. So a lot of you know Peg Gold. She works with me as well. So hello to all of you. So I have a couple things I wanted to show, and I hope that's okay, that I just think have been pretty successful and that are unique and cute and, you know, seem to do a fitting job of the, you know, the outreach piece on acceptance. So this is something that we did not this past year. This year March came and we didn't have everything in ducks in a row, and you know, then we ended up just sending emails to students. But I have something in the works for this year that I'll talk about in a minute, but this is something that is pretty cute. So I'll do a little show and tell here. So this is what each student got in the mail after they were accepted into the Career Center. So this was their first notice of it. So if you'll just notice here, it's just a little, you know, there's some graphics in the back, but on the back it says, we're so glad you chose to tear into a path of greatness with us. You know, just to be, you know, kind of a little play on words. And then if you just grab the little tab here, you open the tab. Oh, and I messed it up. And it says, yay, you're in. I don't know if you can see this well. So then the student would open it up, and I will tell you that these are a little bit old now. So the rubber bands that hold them together don't, but typically when this was fresh, this would have immediately popped out of the box and become a box like this. So pretty fun, definitely something that catches the eyes of the students and not something that they would have typically ever probably have gotten before or even seen before. So, you know, it says, welcome to the WCCC family. And, you know, it has a hashtag that we use, proud to be. And then also stepping outside of the box for my future here on this side. And then, you know, just the Career Center logo. And then the future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams, you know, a Roosevelt quote here. So, and then social media on the bottom. So just a fun little thing that, you know, catches them off guard and surprises them. And then something that we were hoping that they would keep. A couple kids actually told me that they used it like on their desk as a pen holder. They poked holes in the top. And it's funny because the company that sells these does sell pen holder, or, you know, does make one that is a pen holder, but pretty fun. And so then inside it just invited them to our, you know, the welcome celebration, which is a night that we do to welcome students and greet their families and get their questions asked and all of those are answered, all of those things. So again, just a fun little mailer that's unique and something that students hadn't seen before. Another thing we did, this kind of started the theme of the year, so to speak. So the lanyards that they had kind of matched, the graphics matched. We had a t-shirt that matched. We also had, we had printed corrugate plastic boxes made, well, just sheets made, and then I duct taped them together to make oversized cubes that were, you know, like 3 feet tall, and we stacked them on each other for the event just to kind of tie everything in. And it was fun to see the kids taking photographs in front of the big boxes or whatever. So these come from a company, and I'll send this in an email too, but it's called Red Paper Plain. And they're $3.50 a piece to mail, or about that, depending on your quantity. The company, I will say, I literally had seen this like years ago, like maybe 10 years ago, something similar to this. And I sought it out and I finally used like, you know, Facebook stalking to my advantage. I Googled and I couldn't find anything. I talked about it to everybody I knew. And finally their ad popped up on my Facebook and I was like, yes, thank you. So it's called Red Paper Plane, but they will send you a goodie package for free, or maybe you have to pay the shipping, but they have other iterations of these things. They have some fun things like pull-out mailers. They have all kinds of different things if $350 is like not necessarily in your budget. But again, they are, there's another slidey thing that has the same effect. It has a couple boxes if you saw that pop out. So really fun company. And again, I think $350 is pretty affordable for that. They will mail it for you. They will, I designed it myself. I just happen to know how to, that's part of my background, but they will design it for you, or they will help you and support you in that. If you are interested and you want to kind of remake this yours, I would be happy to send you the Illustrator files. Honestly, I don't mind at all. You could just change the colors if you're familiar with Illustrator. But I will say the template was really easy to use and the company was very easy to use. They will mail it for you. I just mailed them ourselves. We put postage on them ourselves because we labeled them. I will tell you that it was random. One post office, so we have 6 districts, but one post office made us pay more than the rest of the post office. So check with each of your post offices to see what the mailing is. But quickly, this is something that this company also makes. And this is something that we're going to do for our counselors. Some of you may have seen this and gotten this in the mail, but I actually didn't realize it was the same company when I got it in the mail. I was like, oh, this is cool. And then, so it's a thing that automatically when you open it, I stopped it, but it has a little video that you can customize for yourself. And we're going to do this for our counselors to have on their desk for just general information. It can be up to like 2 minutes. Just general information for them if kids come in and, you know, have questions about the Career Center. And also I think it's a good conversation piece to have on their desk when students are in there and they can just kind of open it and, you know, see this video. So I actually, these are like $50 each, which sounds like a lot, but again, the impact of that, it can be recharged. We only have 6 counselors. Well, we have a couple other counselors that we'll give it to, but I think I'll be getting like 10 of them. So for less than $600, I think it's pretty impactful and pretty relevant to students. So this is there available as well at that company. So just some fun stuff. And last but not least, another thing that I hope you don't mind, Alicia, that I wanted to share. I will say I used to work at Butler Tech. I don't know if any Butler Tech peeps are on here or not, but so 3 years ago when I worked at Butler Tech, we did something that was socks. So some of you may have seen this, but this was really well received too. And I just wanted to not forget to share this because I think that this is still relevant. I think they did this 2 years ago as well. So we did it 3 years ago and then they did it 2 years ago. So this is just like, this is the package that it came in, a regular envelope. It says caution, the contents inside will knock your socks off. And then the socks I got from the vendor I used for everything, but I think they were like $6 a piece. And then we had this wrap, like congratulations on taking your first step with us, and then like you're accepted in the social media on the back, and then they were customized socks, which, you know, trendy fun socks are still cool with teenagers. So again, and then we also did this as a social media thing, like the first steps to a bright future, and then we encouraged them to share it on social media with their fun socks. So again, this is old, it's been 3 years, but I know that this was really fun and it was really well received by the students. So I wanted to just share this with you guys as something, as another option that you could possibly do. So I thought that would be kind of fun. So these are just things, you know, a letter is fine, but I think that really getting them to share these things on social media is super important. And then just kind of making that first impression again that says, hey, this is something that, you know, more at a college level, like, hey, you're accepted and we want you to join our family and be a part of us, I think is really important. One of the things that I'm looking into do this year is it's a company called IDNC, and they are little bracelets, but they have a RFID chip in them. And hopefully, if we're still kind of waiting to see if it'll be an in-person event in April, but if if that works, as I think, so it's pretty inexpensive to mail, but each one would have a custom chip. And when the student arrives at our campus that day, they can just scan their chip, their bracelet, like for an all access pass. And then we can guide them and tell them where to go. But then also for us, it's an easy way to collect data on who was there. And then also you can customize it. So if they go to a station, so say they go to a station and we have a computer set up that they can scan their chip and it'll give them the video that we want them to see. So it's kind of customized to what their chip is. So if they're, from a certain homeschool, we can say, here's how your homeschool does your lunch money or whatever it is. So it's kind of a cool, and I think that those are like going to be $250, $275, depending on what information that you provide to the company. So I will, if you guys want me to share that too. I just think that's a fun way. It feels like sort of like, everybody, all the kids think that like those festivals and concerts and that kind of thing that you go to, that you wear that's kind of reminiscent of that. So that's what we were going for on that. And then you can take the chip piece off later and it's just like a bracelet that hopefully kids would wear for a little while. So that's it for now. Sorry if I rambled on, but I will send you guys the website for both the red paper plane and the IDNC. I haven't worked with the IDNC yet, but I did scope out some reviews and some other things, and their customer service has been super friendly and helpful with me so far. So fingers crossed that it all works out. But so if you have any questions, you can let me know now, or you can email me and I'm happy to help. So yeah, thanks all.
I think that's great. That is all really, really good information. I know I have some questions, but if anybody has questions for Melissa that you want to throw out right now, I'll let you take the lead and go first. Otherwise, I'll work my way through my list. Okay, well, interrupt me. Oh, go ahead. Who?
Melissa, how many acceptance doodads were you sending out?
So we were about at 375 the last when we did this one, I think. So we'll probably be at like 400 or so this year. So
okay.
When I was at Butler Tech, I think we did 1,200 socks for them. So pretty different scope.
So for the video mailer, which by the way, my superintendent got one of these from a completely different company and immediately brought it to my office, and our team sat and played with it and looked at it, and we really debated like whether this was something that could be usable for a couple of different formats. Did you create a video specifically for your counselors that you put on that piece?
Yes. So to be honest, it hasn't been created yet, but it is going to be created. So yeah, it's actually specific for this piece. Like it's made just for this because I kind of want to do like, I know it sounds cheesy to say it. I'm like, but I think it'll be cute. But like students that are like tapping on the screen, like, hey, you, yes, like you want to come to the Career Center. Like it's not what you think, that kind of thing. It's going to be, from the student voice, obviously, but as if they're in the little screen in the beginning. So yeah, just designed just for this. So.
That's great.
Yeah, my superintendent, I was kind of mad because he shared it with me after I had like looked on this website or whatever. And then I was like, dang it, why didn't, because he was all so impressed. But I'm like, I have other fun stuff too. But it was cool because he had seen it. So he knows what I was talking about. And he knows the impact, at $50 a pop, it sounds kind of, I will say he doesn't look over my budget like that. He trusts what I do, but at $50 a pop, it's pretty like, it's kind of like, whoa, but having him have seen it, he knows the impact of it. So he's going to be fine with it, but yeah.
And have you estimated the lifespan of that? Like if it's going to your counselors, I'm guessing it could sit there for more than just one school year because your counselors don't change all that frequently.
Yes. Yes. And I will say that I've had this one for over a year or so at this point, and you can recharge them. It does come with a little recharge, and it's like, the same counselors that are going to actually recharge it are the same counselors that we don't have a problem getting students from because they're already engaged in helping, answer all the questions and that kind of thing. But it seems to have a really like long lifespan. I've opened and closed this puppy a lot. And but like I said, you can recharge it. What I'm trying to find out, and they haven't gotten back to me yet, is if I could re-upload the information. I don't think so, because they would probably be like, but I'm trying to like figure out a way to do that, because what I would like to do is have the video, the intro video, and then ideally I would change it to when they have been welcomed. So when a student finds out, hey, I've been accepted, and then they go into their counselor's office, like, I got this thing in the mail, like, I'm accepted, what do I do now? That this would be able to be the secondary piece that says, hey, now you've been accepted, this is what you do, like that kind of thing. So that's kind of what I'm trying to, I don't really want to spend the money again and have two pieces, but I'm trying to find out if you can redo the, you know, the video. I know you can, I just don't know if it's like proprietary. I'm not trying to like go to prison for it or anything. So I'm trying to figure it out, but we'll see. So, but you could do it if you're not prepared to do that for like now for the recruitment season, you could, that could be a possibility for the acceptance part of things. So just a thought.
Yeah. And if you could share that, it sounds like everyone's interested in everything. So if you are able to kind of like package this up and just email it out to everyone, my poor teammates, every time I try to design something new that folds in any which way, we're all like laying papers out with sticky notes and figuring out what's upside down and what's sideways, and having some kind of template like that could be really helpful.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, I have a design background, so for me, it's kind of second nature. But I will say, from my perspective, like the layout and the graphics that they provide, like the template that they provide, is very user friendly and very intuitive and very like it's good. And they have tons, like I said, they have tons of other mailers. I was trying to find, they have this one that's just like a flat piece that folds in just unique ways, and everything that I've gotten from them, again, I would highly recommend getting like the sample package. I think you just pay shipping, if that, but they have a lot of really fun things. And like I said, their customer service and I think they would design it for free. I'm not honestly sure, but if you need help with that, like I said, I'm happy to share our template. I don't mind if you want to change the colors. It's nothing, excellent, but I mean, it's nothing like groundbreaking, but it's, it's colorful and fun, and you can kind of change it. So I will definitely send all of that information, and no one hesitate to reach out. I don't mind at all. So.
And Monica's asking, does anyone do these type of mailings to potential students for open house? I know we do some mailers that kind of fold in multiple ways. They're nothing cool like that pops up, but we do a series of mailers to all of the sophomores in our county leading up to open house, leading up to the application. What about anybody else? Does anybody else have? And we put our samples in our shared drive. So anything that we've designed so far this year, I think I owe you guys another piece or two, but we've shared those designs on that Google Drive.
In previous years, I've always sent out a postcard about open house that was to get to homes just ahead of our sophomore tours. But I was pricing it out this year, and I designed the postcard, and I was discovering that the cost to mail the postcard, and then of course to get some back, was so much more than just creating the postcard in general. So this year I included the postcard in goodie bags that I personalized for every single sophomore who came to our tours. So we do have something, but we didn't mail it this year. And the teachers loved the goodie bags and said, yes, please do it again next year. So I think that might be the way we do the postcard going forward.
Great. And Erica, have you had your in-person sophomore tours yet?
We did. We are complete. We had the tours November 9th through the 13th, and then not on Veterans Day. Then we had them again the following Monday, and then that Tuesday night we had open house. It was much more regimented this year in the sense that our schools were assigned specific hours, and of course masks were necessary, and we had to limit how many people could be in a room at a time. And so it was different, but it went better than I expected, because I truly wondered what kind of pictures I was going to get. But the teachers had more time to be one-on-one with a student and their parents. And in the sophomore tours, the students, I mean, we all work with multiple school districts. So you've got young kids who are suddenly, in most situations or most years, thrown into a setting where they're with kids from 2 or 3 other schools. in this case, there were so few students and they all knew each other that the teachers said they were getting a lot more interactivity, questions were being asked, and the kids seemed to be more comfortable. So maybe it all is for the better. Although I don't think the teachers would like to do sophomore tours for 5 days again. Everybody said they were exhausted by the end of the open house.
Oh, I bet. I know there's a number of people on here who are doing in-person open houses, maybe by signups. Somebody, and forgive me, I forget all the individual who's doing what, but someone reached out and said they're doing 6 mini open houses. And then there's those of us who are doing virtual open houses. So I'm interested later in the spring or later this winter to touch base and see how everyone's events have been going. Hopefully we'll all have some good feedback like Erica and say, well, maybe it was, worked out just great. Everybody was happy by the end of it. So I'll share real quick something that we learned as in the realm of retention. We started doing some coffee chats, gosh, like 6 or 7, maybe 8 years ago now. And they were focused on families who were interested in the Career Center or hadn't heard of what we do. And what we were finding is that parents whose children had already been accepted had started coming to these coffee chats because they felt like they didn't have enough information yet. My child is accepted. It might be March, and I still feel like I need more information. So we started coming up with a list of what does each accepted family need to know between January and February when they're accepted and August. And we started chunking it out in small pieces, and we call it our family onboarding, but it's just basically a series of emails. And each email has enough information that they can absorb what we need them to know without overloading them. And then we always include an informational article, something that backs up the importance of CTE, and then a student success story. And that's kind of the format of every email. And we have a calendar of the topics. And so it starts in maybe like February, and then we try to maybe no more than once a month, just send some information out, and we let them know up front. You're going to be hearing from us periodically between now and August with important information. We always open it up to let them respond to us with questions. Where it gets tricky is, and I don't know if everyone does this, we send out acceptances in waves. So there's a little bit of a round robin that happens, and you have to take good notes where maybe the first wave gets put on this schedule and we send them once a month. Well, the second wave has to get the first email, and then they're caught up, and then they're on the regular schedule. The third group has to get quickly the first email, the second email, then they're caught up, and you just kind of have to keep careful notes like that. But we found that our families really, really appreciate not having this black hole of information all through the spring without knowing what's coming, what to anticipate. Our counselors panicked a little the first time we did it because we got a few responses saying, oh, I changed my mind. I want to unenroll. I don't want to come to DACC anymore. But then what we found out through tracking the data was those are the students who would have unenrolled anyway. But because we were reaching out, they did it sooner, which allowed us time to plan and open up those seats for other students. So what was a little scary at first, they saw as a huge benefit. So I can put our schedule of topics now, like Melissa said, that plan went out the window this past spring, and we did our best, but a lot of our emails said, we're not sure what's going to happen. We'll keep you as informed as we can. We're hoping to be a little more solid this spring with our messaging, but regardless, we'll keep telling them when we don't know. We'll keep being honest with them and let them know what we do know. But our general timeline, I can post that in our shared drive if anyone's interested in kind of trying to do the same thing to keep their families informed and engaged. And it's just one way it really goes to the parents. It's one way to reach the parents and make sure that they feel comfortable going in. We always kick it off with a welcome video. I record a video from our superintendent and our building principal. And I write the script for them, but what I tell them is all you really need is to make these families feel welcome, to comfort them, make sure they feel like they made the right choice, and to make yourselves approachable. And if you can do that, we've done our jobs. So that's just one thing that I can share with this group. Monica, yes, please, if you have anything as far as recruitment and retention. Yep. So Monica has a virtual career night mailer. Oh, there you are.
Here we are. Can you see it?
Yes.
This is going out to all freshmen and sophomores today. for our virtual career night. And it's really cool, and it opens up like that. And it explains how we do virtual career night. And students will be reminded of this next week because we're doing virtual Explore Penta days throughout our member school districts. And our teachers stepped up from our recruitment retention committee and created a lesson plan that we have shared with all of our member school counselors and principals. And they can pick any day next week to participate in virtual Explore Penta. And we also created, for the first time, 27 90-second videos of each of our programs. And we have a new landing page on our website. So we're kind of excited because we put all this together since we all last talked in about 5 or 6 weeks.
Wow.
So we're hoping this is going to work. For virtual career night, it's basically, we have 4 different sessions, and the parents and students need to register by December 11th because we always hold our career night in December because we want to get a jump start on the member schools enrolling in January. So we start early. But we're just hoping that people will, especially the students and the parents, will log on December 14th and talk to our teachers about the programs. And it's all just so different, but we're trying.
And Monica, there's a question. Did you say this mailer was for freshmen and sophomores?
Yes.
Okay. And what did you use to make your 90-second videos? Did you do that? Did you hire it out?
We hired it out.
Oh, good. I love professional video.
We found a company locally that has worked with us in the past, and we decided to go with this particular format, which is a combination of students explaining an activity. We asked them to set up 8 activities in their labs, and some did, some didn't. So if we had 5 or 6, that still worked. And then the teachers introduced themselves. If we had 2 teacher programs, 1 teacher did it at the beginning, 1 at the end. I will share the videos with you. But it's a little bit different. We looked at a lot of different career tech schools videos and kind of came up with a hybrid type video for each program.
That's great.
So we're excited. They're live today on our website.
Nice. Yeah. You have another comment. Somebody just checked it out and they said it looks awesome.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So
Thanks,
good
Mary.
job. I'm so impressed.
I wanted to share just because it was, I mean, I think with the pandemic going on, everybody just stepped up and just got it done. I mean, it was a difficult thing to do so last minute, but we hope it works.
Good.
And we'll see how it goes. We already have our application open, and Trisha can talk to that. Trisha Horniak is our admissions representative who's on this meeting as well. And Trisha, if you wanted to say how many we have already as far as applications.
I don't know the answer to that.
Ours opened on Friday, and Mary, you may have more updated numbers, but I looked early this morning and I think there were about 83 applications. So we're not too far off of where we would normally be this time last year after hosting all of the sophomores in the building. But we're anticipating that the growth of the application numbers they'll grow slower. I feel confident that they won't be much lower than a normal year. Another question, someone said they had their first chance online application night on Thursday at the Knox County Career Center. They had 163 students apply. You had 163 students apply. That's great. Freshman, sophomore, and junior. Nice work. Anybody else want to chime in on what you're doing right now, how things are going? Anybody's virtual tours launched that went really, really well, or lessons learned from your launch? You guys are a quiet group today.
I have something that's unrelated to that totally, but I wanted to just kind of put a bug in your ear. So for us, again, our homeschool counselors, some are much more engaged than others. I'm sure everyone could probably say yes to that. And not that we ever try to buy their love, but something that I had asked for some mailing list we're going to do mailings, a couple mailings, and I had needed, we could get them obviously from the student system, but I like to always ask just we can get the most relevant one and the newest one, and just also let them know that we're sending something. So on Friday, from our admin team, and just kind of, I know some people don't have, not that we have an endless budget, but I know some people struggle a little bit more with budget, but thankfully we're blessed in many ways. But one thing that I got a lot of response. I hadn't heard from counselors on a couple things, but we surprised them on Friday midday. We kind of divided and conquered, and took them a little treat. And it was pretzels. If you have like an Annie Ann's or whatever, like hot pretzels, if they'll do catering. If you get together a little goodie bag for each of the counseling staff and the secretary and the building admin at each of our homeschools, and we did this little card that says this year has certainly had its twists and turns, but you've made the best of it, cheesy, but twists and turns on the pretzels. And then, we appreciate your partnership, and we all signed it. And there's a little pretzel or whatever. But it was a really good surprise. And they were like, we've never, like, pretzels were unexpected. Like, a lot of people do cookies or desserts or anything, but pretzels really unexpected. And I will say this morning, I had 4 more mailing lists along with like a thank you for these great treats. It came from the admin team, not just me, but I will say that they did really appreciate it. So just kind of never forget that. For me, that's always been beneficial to keep that relationship. And again, not that we're trying to buy their love, but we do appreciate that they do this work for us and give us access to the students. And it does take more work for them, to do these things, but just a fun thing that was really well received, and they were surprised by it. And just I love little random ideas like that. So I thought I would share that was kind of fun, and the counselors really seemed to appreciate it. And it wasn't the same old cookies and whatever, because it's Thanksgiving time. So just a thought. And who doesn't love soft pretzels and cheese, right? Like.
And I love the plan words. The next time I need a cute plan words, I'm calling you, Melissa.
Yeah, I'm so cheesy about it. Sometimes I'm like, this is too much, but I also love it. But I also did say, like, share with your admin team so they don't get salty. And I'm like, sorry. And I literally put, sorry, we couldn't resist. But I'm cheesy, but it is fun and it makes you giggle. And I mean,
I'm sure they appreciated it. Yeah. That's so nice.
And like I said, it was just something different. So just a thought.
Yeah, absolutely. I do have a couple questions for this group. So before I move on to any other things, anybody else have anything you're really proud of that you've been doing right now? And if you show us, I'm going to ask you to put it up on our shared drive later so we can all steal your ideas. But anything that you guys would like to just brag about for a second or share so that we can all benefit from your great work?
I'd like to jump in here if you don't mind. This is Heather from the Wayne County Schools Career Center. And so we did something that was not for our recruiting, but for our advisory committees. We typically do in the fall, our advisory committee, a large meeting. Our culinary and hospitality trades make some really yummy food for that night. And we typically have a theme. In the past, we've done around the world. So we've done foods from around the world. We did through the years last year, since it was our 50th anniversary, and we did food by the decades. So that was really fun. And of course, this year we couldn't have people in. So we did a pop into a Zoom meeting, and we sent out bags of microwave popcorn to each of the advisory members with a little invitation that, I'm sorry, I don't have in front of me, but it just reminded me when Melissa was saying about, the cheesy lines. We threw many, many cheesy lines in there, but they were well received. And so I feel like that's something that sort of catches people's attention, and it might be a groaner, but it's something that'll really catch their attention. And Pinterest is a good place to find those. We did find some other ideas on Pinterest for some little gifts or cheesy lines like that, but that was well received by our group. So
that's great.
The Audrey Gutman again, Career Center in Piqua. I think some of the things that we've done a little bit differently this year, and a lot of these great ideas are kudos of Andrew Snyder, who's our recruitment coordinator. He's been out on a recruitment visits, so he is in his office catching up on emails and stuff today. So that's why he's not joining us. But our recruitment book that we do every year, this year we took it and we scaled it down quite a bit. I think we took probably about 8 pages out of it. and we scaled it down to, it's like a roughly a 7x9 size, where before it was a little bit bigger. And so we just kind of took it down to bare bones, gave information to the kids. And if you go through them, we just go through our career pathways and have their information on there. And it just talks about, you know, has the pictures, the title, talks about program overview, career pathways, and either college credits or certifications. But then we have a QR code on every page too that drives kids directly to that career page on our website. And then when they get onto our website, we are in the process, we've started doing program videos for each of our program, about a minute, and we used OnScene for those. And they were hoping to get us all of our videos before we went on to recruitment, but COVID hit them, and I know they helped you guys with a lot of virtual tours and stuff too. So we don't quite have all those videos, but when they get to their web page, there should be a 1-minute program video. We had a local vendor help us do like 30-second to 1-minute student testimonial videos. We chose one student from each program. And then we also have a slideshow of images from the program. So we're trying to give the kids as much information as they can, try to give them a good program overview of each of our programs. The other thing that we did, that we're doing with the mailer, so each kid got one of these when Mr. Snyder went out to meet with them. And then along with that, then we're also mailing another one of these to every sophomore's home. And they're supposed to be dropping today or tomorrow. So we thought, especially with everyone being home around Thanksgiving, hopefully this will come in the mail, mom or dad, or if probably not having any family members over this year, but if there are, you know, maybe someone sees it and just picks it up and glances through it. So that was another hope. And then I think another great idea that Mr. Snyder had this year was we've got quite a few kids who aren't going to be coming for those Explore Careers Day to come in and actually see our lab. And we did a survey with our students and saw that a lot of our kids make their decision that day. Like, okay, whatever that thing. But when they get in our building, it's hard to replace that. But just trying to get a little bit of a wow factor, we went and designed a standard t-shirt, same design set, but different for each school. So it has their homeschool on the front. So for Piqua, it says Piqua Indians on it. Has a little kind of 1990s retro throwback look. And then right up here on the back, we put the Upper Valley Career Center logo. And so he had all the kids, they had to go onto our website, fill out their name, order their shirt. We did it through Google Form. And then we have a local supplier that will send them those shirts. So they're all getting, anyone who filled it out, they got a homeschool shirt that they can wear to basketball games or football games, whatever they want, but it's got a Career Center logo small in the back, up in, you know, right under their neck. So we have right now 600 walking billboards, and our largest school has not filled theirs out yet. So I thought that was a great idea. And then also they went onto our website. So hopefully those wonderful little tracking cookies and Google Ads and stuff will then wonderfully follow them around as they're on their phones and looking at things like that. So that's kind of how we approach things this year, and hoping for the best and hoping that it works out. So
I love that idea. Did you have like big shipping costs for having those individually shipped to each student?
No, the way we're doing them, Ernst Sports or Ernst Apparel, one of our local vendors, who does all of our uniforms and stuff, what they're going to do is that the kids filled out the Google form, put their name in, put what their school is, and then they're just taking them and they're delivering them to the school with the kid's name on them. And so they'll just, yeah, they're just delivering them around to our associate school. So we didn't have to worry about shipping costs for that.
Yeah, that's nice. And then Erica wanted to know, what's your budget? And Erica, are you talking about just the t-shirts or for the mailer?
For the t-shirts.
For the t-shirts. What's your budget for those t-shirts?
I need to double check because that was Mr. Snyder's PO. I think the cost is around $10 per shirt. Mm-hmm. But we just kind of added up all the other costs that we would have for the kids, and you know, all the different things that we would typically have, recruitment visits, taking all the kids out and all that kind of stuff, busing, bus drivers, you know, we didn't have any of those costs this year. So yeah, it was we're pushing our budget this year, but it's one of those years you almost have to.
Absolutely. I think we all are.
Yeah.
Yeah, my little goodie bags were not cheap, but if I did it right, I have enough for next year. So hopefully I'll see the savings.
Good. And then Cheyenne shared that from Buckeye Career Center, they hosted their virtual advisory meeting. She said they had 85 members attend. In a normal year, they would have about 100 attend, which is fantastic. That's, I mean, almost 100% attendance from years past. So congratulations. Cheyenne, did you do that over Zoom? Did you have breakout sessions? How did you do that? She's unmuting.
Sorry, my mouse was frozen. So we did it via Zoom. We went around to all of our instructors. We first had a staff meeting to explain that that's how we were going to do the open house and also our advisory meetings. We thought we'd try it with advisory first before we get to the open house because we hope there's more traffic for that. We had them all create their own Zoom meetings in the staff meetings so that it was linked directly to their email accounts, their Zoom accounts. We got that done for both events in one staff meeting. We did a landing page such as you did, Alicia, on your website that had all of those links, all the programs listed, and we mailed that out to our advisory members so that they could just go to that landing page and click on that link and join the Zoom meeting. So we had a few issues. I know passcodes were kind of a problem for some of the instructors who hadn't upgraded their accounts like they were told to in the beginning of the school year. So we dealt with that a little bit. But the night of, really, we only had 2 or 3 minor problems. And I even had some instructors thank us for teaching them how to use Zoom and how to set up meetings because ironically, 2 days later, we found out that we were going remote starting today. So some of them are using Zoom to communicate with their students, and they learned how to do that because of advisory. So we were pretty happy about that. We were still able to get an advisory in, and it gave them practice for our open house that is December 10th.
Great. Good. Well, that's fantastic. In our
you.
last 15 minutes, I want to throw some questions out to you guys. We normally, ACTE has their summer conference in July, and I don't know about you, it's been a little spotty for me as far as whether or not I go because I don't feel like there's a huge emphasis on communications at this event. And there were a handful of us that were going to present last summer before it got canceled. So Brian, if you have anything to add, jump in here. But Brian and I were on a meeting last week about planning for the summer conference. And I, for some reason, just assumed that like there would be so much conversation about communications right now because that's been such a huge effort on all of our schools to communicate well and communicate effectively. But in their planning for the summer conference, communications isn't always at the forefront. It's not always the #1 topic that they think of. So, Brian and I threw out some topics, some things that we thought should be discussed at the conference. But I wanted to throw it out to this group, and you can put it in the chat, or you can just say it out here. But what do you want to learn? Like, what would bring you to that conference? What do you want to learn about after a year like this, or even assuming we're headed into a normal year? What's of interest to you?
Alicia?
Yes.
I have only been able to go to the Ohio ACTE conference maybe 2 or 3 times in my 20 years in career technical public relations. And they always have it the last week in July. And here at Penta, we're already gearing up for the beginning of the school year.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder if, from the PR division standpoint, is there a way we could just have a 1 day or half a day meeting just with our own group instead of like trying to organize sessions?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe we find someone to come in and present to us. Maybe it's like a mini Ohio ACTE conference, because I don't find things other than the communication and public relations sessions that we all as a group try to organize, and our speakers, you know what I'm saying. I just think it would be really good if we could like target a time frame that's just for us, so we don't have to spend 2.5, 3 days there.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And you mentioned that it was in July, right before we were gearing up for the school year. So is that timing really bad for you to have to set aside a few days to go to a conference? It's not always ideal for me. Oh, you're muted. You're still Monica, you're muted.
Yep, just, they haven't really, in the 20 years, again, just haven't been able to market it for our communication needs, I don't believe.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be nice if we could maybe, and a couple times that I went to it, we tried to have just a lunch meeting just with our group. I don't know if Alicia was involved in that, or some of the other people that have been around as long as I have. Maybe Peg got together with us and Janet, but it just would be nice to have like a designated time that we could even just have a half-a-day meeting.
Mm-hmm.
If I could jump in, I know we presented Career Connections Wise 2 or 3 years ago, I believe, and that is like the first half of the very first day. So I think we presented at 11 and they had some sessions before that just for career connectors. So I don't know if maybe that would be a time frame. And it was before check-in and everything. So we went, we presented, we went to lunch. I think we went shopping for a while, and then checked in and registered for the actual conference at like 1 or 2 in the afternoon. And then obviously you have the rest of the day thing. So I don't know if that would be an option to maybe propose to ACTE for us to have our own half-day session possibly.
And so that was, you said that was like before the very first day? Okay.
Yeah, it was on the first day. So if it's a Monday that we go, I think the first half of that Monday was just Career Connections. Mm-hmm. And then the rest of their schedule started maybe at like 1 or something with some, I don't know, some other sessions, and then like your check-in and all of that. So it was like a morning only, very condensed group of people that were there.
Sure.
Hey, Alicia, I'm going to jump in here for a second. I've sat on the ACTE planning committee for a few years now.
Yeah.
And one of this has been brought up since I've been on the committee. And one of their comebacks is, well, we need presenters. And so a few years ago, Kendra Ward and myself kind of corralled a bunch of folks and had maybe 3 or 4 that were PR marketing related sessions, one of the conferences. Mm-hmm. They're not opposed, but it's providing content. And frankly, it's probably going to have to come from us. Either we do the presenting or we recommend the industry experts, because they don't. There is, and there has been for the last couple of years, a pull-out session, and there is a PR division. I think it's maybe the last afternoon they do a 2 or 2.5 hour session. So those things are there. I think it's just a matter of how much we expand it or push for it.
Absolutely, and that's why I want this group's feedback, because they're definitely not opposed to incorporating communications and PR, but we can't just sit back and expect them to think of it without our input. So if we get that agenda and we say, hey, why isn't there more communications or PR information on here? It's because we didn't speak up. It's because we didn't volunteer to present. So like I said, Cheyenne was I think you were gonna present on Canva or some kind of design elements. There were a couple of others of us who were gonna present together. So.
And the timing, I agree, is awful. Like even though I'm on the planning committee, I haven't been there in 3 years because I'm always in Canada that week, and I'm not going to change that to attend ACTE. So the timing is bad, but I don't know that that's something that's going to change anytime soon.
So is it helpful for all of you to hear from your peers? Ellen and Shane and I presented one year on just how to collaborate with your fellow CTE schools. We're all sort of geographically closer. We were when Shane was at Tolles. And so we, joined budgets and forces and hired a PR firm and worked on something together, and we presented on that. Kelsey and I last summer were going to present on just best practices from all of you. So we were going to pull from everything you guys were doing and just kind of show by category different best practices. So would it interest you to hear from your peers, or do you want to hear from industry experts if we could get them?
I think this is John from Great Oaks. I think both are helpful. One of the things I see a value with the Ohio ACTE is being able to talk about communications and PR for those who aren't in communications and PR to help others understand what we're doing. But meetings like this and meetings that, like Monica was talking about earlier, that give us a chance to trade ideas and to get more in depth in the kinds of things we're talking about today would be really valuable too. But I do think we can't ignore the chance to talk about communications and PR and marketing for those who don't deal with it every day. I think the more we inform the folks that we work with, the better.
So John, that's a really interesting take. Do you think we should maybe shift our focus from like, what can I get out of this conference, learning from other people, and maybe some of us can team up and do some sessions on, communicating for schools that don't have a full-time communications department, and maybe there's another session for how your communicators are a tool in your toolbox. Here's how to use them, and it kind of increase that importance of your communications department. Maybe you have a full-time person and you don't know how to put them to work, or we want you to know how we would like you to put us to work, and sort of control that message.
Yeah, I apologize. I'm still processing what you said. I think it is really valuable for not only for those career centers that don't have the support of a full-time person, but again, the idea of being able to talk to, here's talking to superintendents or CT instructors or others, here's what your communications department wants you to know about the work that they're doing. I think that's valuable. We, for the purposes of Ohio ACTE, I don't know that there's a lot of time built in for us to work together and trade ideas. As you know, OSPRA has the OSPRA conferences are good for that sort of thing. I guess I'm wondering if we try to do too much by trying to create that for PR people during Ohio ACTE, that may ought to be, or that should be separate from that session or from that conference.
So kind of what I'm hearing from the group, and you can give me a thumbs up or chime in or chat, but if there is a way for us to sort of meet in person, let's just assume that we can do any of this in person, and we'll just not worry about the other factors yet. But if there's sort of like a half a day that we can spend together in person doing something, and maybe we shift our focus to how do we inform our school leaders, our board members, our superintendents, how valuable we are by giving these presentations and showing them what kind of an impact we have and how they can better utilize this tool that they have. Brian, what you've been on this committee a lot longer than I have, the planning committee for the conference. What are your thoughts? If you're still there, all I see is his name. All right. Unless you're muted,
I'm sorry, my computer is wonky. I can't unmute.
Oh.
It gives me grief. No, I mean, yes to everything. I think all of those are viable options. I really do. I would hate to see us not be at ACTE. I think I do think that's important. Just because I think when we aren't, I've noticed in the past, sometimes maybe vendors come in, and then as a result, a superintendent sits in a room with a vendor, and the vendor says, oh, hey, this great, and they come back and I go, we do that. We've been doing that. Mm-hmm. I do that. So sometimes I think when we aren't there, there are vendors who step in and maybe make them think that we aren't there, and doing some of the things that we do. So that's a thought. If we aren't there at all, someone will fill that gap.
Okay. Well, I think they're going to be sending out some requests for presentations in the next couple of months, maybe around January. And they're debating right now, you know, do they move forward and assume that this conference will happen regardless, whether it's in person or virtual. So I guess my request of all of you then is start thinking about where you can step in and fill some of these gaps. Whether it's talking about how schools without a communicator can communicate, which then still sends the message of how important we are, or speaking to school leaders, superintendents, and board members specifically to that group. How can you utilize this great tool that you have in your toolbox? How can we work together as partners and leaders in our school? So if you start thinking about some of those, we can have some really good pitches for presentations for that summer conference.
And Alicia and I think we can also push on the committee that perhaps if we can find, you know, 3 or 4, sorry, my phone's ringing the moment I unmute. If we can find 3 or 4 presentations that day, that they all happen on one day, like the Tuesday or Wednesday, along with that 2-hour PR session, because there are one-day registrations available. Rather than commit to 3 days or 2 days. I never go the first day because it's not really relevant to what I do day in and day out. So, you know, I believe there is a one-day registration. So maybe that's something Alicia and I can push, is that all of these presentations happen on this day so that it's, you know, makes it worthwhile for our folks to come one day. I don't know.
And then Monica suggested maybe finding someone from National ACTE to speak, from the marketing communications area for National ACTE. So that's something else that we can look into. So it's 11 o'clock. I don't want to hold anybody over. We've done a great job of getting through everything in an hour's time. The only other thing I had was checking in on virtual versus in-person open houses, but I think we kind of touched on that. And I sent out the list of who's doing what. So if you find yourself pivoting, if you were doing virtual and now you're going to be doing in person, or I guess it would be more likely to do the opposite. If you were going to do in person and now you're switching to virtual, take a look at that list to see who you can reach out to get tips or steal ideas. That's a really valuable group of people to be able to get into contact with. So I can stick around for a few minutes if anybody else has anything they want to add or ask or chime in on, but I want to make sure that I let you guys get back to work because I know everyone's really busy right now. All right. Thank you so much for spending an hour with us. I appreciate it. Thanks for all the great work that you do. We'll be
Thanks for your
sending
work,
out
Alicia. Appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. We'll be sending out some resources and some links and some things to look at later.
Thank you.
Have a good day, everybody.
Have a great day, guys.
Thank you.
Enjoy your short week.